The port of St. Tropez gleamed under the golden sweep of the morning sun, the sea whispering softly against the hulls of 100 moored yachts. My family stood clustered at the end of the exclusive Pier 9, posing for photos in front of what they believed to be their luxury charter for the week, a private, family-only cruise to celebrate the successful ones. They were beaming, champagne flutes in hand, sunglasses perched just so. None of them seemed to notice the name etched elegantly in gold across the stern, Soline's Grace. If they had, they might have figured it out sooner. Camille? My mother's voice sliced through the air, unmistakably annoyed. What are you doing here? I adjusted the silk scarf knotted at my neck, letting the breeze catch it slightly. Good morning, Mother. You're not on the list, she snapped. This is a private dock. I nodded. I know. She turned to wave down a uniformed staff member. Security, we have a situation. The man approached in a navy blazer, posture straight and expression calm. Is there a problem, Madame Rousseau? Yes, she said with theatrical relief. My daughter is trespassing on a private dock. This is for guests of Soline's Grace only. He gave me a polite nod. And that's why she's here. My mother blinked. Excuse me? Madame Dupont is the owner, he said clearly. She arrived as scheduled. The silence that followed was almost musical. My younger brother Julien froze mid-selfie, while my cousin Leia's glass of rosé paused mid-air. My mother's lips parted, struggling to maintain her usual composure. There must be some mistake. We chartered this yacht through La Mer Exclusive, which is owned by Solstice Voyages, I supplied. My company. We manage a fleet of luxury vessels throughout the Mediterranean. This one happens to be mine. Leia lowered her glass. Wait, you own Solstice Voyages? I smiled. Founded it 12 years ago, after you all told me I was wasting my degree on boat people, remember? I pressed a button on the remote clipped to my bag. With a soft chime, the gangway lowered, and the yacht's polished chrome lights blinked to life, illuminating the steps. The onboard staff appeared at attention, awaiting my arrival. Julien took off his sunglasses. This is some kind of joke. No, I replied evenly, but it is poetic. My father stepped forward from the back of the group, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. He hadn't said a word yet, just like the day he told me I was foolish to turn down a junior role at Rousseau Holdings in favor of starting a boat rental company. You've done all this behind our backs? He said finally. I raised an eyebrow. Behind your backs? Or in plain sight while you were too busy dismissing me to care? We thought you'd grown out of it, my mother said, voice quieter now. All that marine stuff. What I grew out of, I said, was waiting for your approval. My sister Marcel appeared with a clipboard. Monsieur Dupont, the crew is ready for boarding. Shall I prepare the suite for your guests? I turned back to my family, all still frozen on the dock. You're welcome to join me, I said. After all, I did notice you booked the full family package, top-tier service and all. No refunds, of course, company policy. My mother looked like she might faint. Julien stared at the yacht like it had materialized from thin air. Only my father gave me the faintest nod. Whether in defeat or admiration, I wasn't sure. I stepped onto the gangway, heels clicking softly on the polished teak. This wasn't just a yacht. It was a home I built, a business I nurtured, a legacy forged without their blessing. And now, they were sailing under my flag. Confirmed your rental of Soline's Grace for a 7-day Côte d'Azur cruise, I finished, pulling up the booking on my phone. Though, if you'd done even a cursory bit of research, you might have noticed the company's CEO is named Camille Dupont. My mother paled, lips parted in disbelief. My phone buzzed. A message from Bastien, my port manager. Everything ready for the reveal? I tapped out a quick reply. Perfect timing. Let's show them what success really looks like. I turned back to my frozen audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I called out, my voice echoing confidently across the dock. Welcome aboard Soline's Grace. A beat passed, then I added, or should I say, my dream? On cue, the crew stepped forward in pristine white uniforms. Welcome aboard, Miss Dupont, they said in unison, completely ignoring my family. Bastien stepped to my side. The master suite has been prepared as requested, madame, and additional accommodations have been arranged. I caught the flicker in my mother's eyes. The master suite, the one she had personally requested when she booked the trip, the one she'd claimed for herself without hesitation. Now wait just a minute, she began. No, mother, I cut in, calm but firm. You wait. For 10 years you've excluded me from weddings, birthdays, and holidays. You told friends I was still figuring things out, called my business a hobby, said I was just renting boats while Julian and Leah were climbing the corporate ladder. I swept my arm across the marina, where several other gleaming vessels bobbed under the Solstice Voyages banner. Take a good look. Every yacht bearing that insignia, mine. The shipping company that moves your building materials across the Mediterranean, mine. The luxury charter service you used to plan this cruise, I raised an eyebrow, owned entirely by me. Leah was already on her phone, furiously Googling. Solstice Voyages, estimated worth? She looked up, stunned. Oh my God. 4 billion euros, I supplied casually. Though, with the recent expansion into Asia, it's likely closer to 6. Not bad for a hobby, wouldn't you say? Julien took a step forward, smoothing the lapels of his jacket, the polished business version of himself suddenly re-emerging. Camille, if we'd known... What? I asked, coldly amused. You would have what? Invited me? Claimed me? Boasted about your brilliant sister? Maybe even taken some credit for my work? That's not fair, my mother said quickly. We were just trying to motivate you. By excluding me? I said. By pretending I was some family embarrassment? I let out a quiet, humorless laugh. Well, congratulations, I said, voice razor sharp. You motivated me to build something so successful, you ended up paying me to charter my own yacht. I could see the corners of my crew's mouths twitching with suppressed amusement. They'd all heard about this exclusive family during the pre-voyage planning meetings. I'd even warned them about the likely drama. Now they were watching it unfold in real time. From the back of the group, my father finally spoke. His voice was flat, weighted. The crew's deposit, all of it, went to you? I nodded. Every euro. And yes, the premium price you paid? That included the full concierge package, custom onboard catering, and, of course, the exclusive family discount. He blinked. You charged us more? No, I replied. I charge everyone the same. You just assumed you'd be the exception. He looked down, as if the wood of the dock might offer some kind of explanation. It didn't. I don't need an apology, I continued. But I do deserve acknowledgement. I'm not the lost girl who walked away from your firm. I'm the woman who turned that decision into a global enterprise. The yacht's gangway lowered once more behind me. I turned to ascend it, the sun warm on my back. I'll have the captain wait 15 minutes, I said over my shoulder. You're welcome to board. But this time, you walk onto my ship, on my terms. Then, I climbed aboard, without waiting to see who followed. How much did we pay? My brother Julian asked finally, his voice tight. 200,000 euros, I said, folding my phone back into my handbag. Non-refundable, of course, though I suppose I should thank you. Your payment will cover the crew's bonuses. For my crew, for putting up with this charade. My phone buzzed again. Another news alert. I glanced down and smiled. Solstice Voyages announces major expansion. Stock surges 12% on market open. I turned the screen toward them. Oh, and you might want to check your investment portfolios. Apparently, several top financial advisors are recommending Solstice stock today. Shame none of you bought in when it was just my little hobby. Mother slowly sank onto the teak bench lining the dock, mascara smudging slightly under her designer sunglasses. The edges of her itinerary, once clutched so tightly in her leather folder, flapped weakly in the sea breeze. But where will we stay? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Surely the cruise is canceled now. Oh no, I said brightly. The cruise is still on, just with some slight modifications to the arrangements. At my nod, my chief steward stepped forward with a stack of room assignments, efficiently distributing them like boarding passes. Julien, you and Sophie will be in the port guest cabin, the one near the engine room. It's compact, but functional, he announced. Julien's jaw tensed. Leia, you and Mark have the starboard crew quarters, the steward continued. Leia gaped. The what? Mother, father, I said, turning toward them. You'll be staying in the forward cabin. It's a bit snug, but cozy enough for two. The crew quarters? Leia shrieked. We booked. You booked through my company, I cut in, on my yacht. And as the owner, I've made a few changes. The master suite naturally is mine. This is outrageous, Mother said, standing now, her voice climbing an octave. We'll find another yacht. We don't have to put up with this. In Monaco, I raised an eyebrow. During peak summer season, by all means, try. I leaned slightly toward her. Elite Maritime controls over 70% of the high-end charters in this marina, and nearly every other major port on the Riviera. Even if you do find an independent operator, your deposit here is still non-refundable. But I'm sure they'll be thrilled to charge you double for a last-minute booking. My phone chimed again, this time from Bastien. Paparazzi arriving in 10 minutes for the solstice press conference. Want them to catch the family drama? Perfect timing, I texted back. Make sure they get my good side. Looking up, I let my gaze sweep across my stunned family. You have two options, I said, folding my arms loosely. You can stay and enjoy a lovely Mediterranean cruise, albeit in slightly humbler accommodations than you planned, or you can leave, lose your deposit, and explain to your society friends why your luxury vacation turned into a disaster before it even left the dock. The silence that followed was broken only by the gentle clinking of rigging against masts. The marina, moments ago full of polished performance, was now a stage of stunned reckoning. You're enjoying this, Julia muttered. I tilted my head. Watching the facades crack? Watching the same people who called me a disappointment realize that I own the company they're trying to impress? I gave him a slow, deliberate smile. Yes, Julien, I rather am. Then, unexpectedly, my father stepped forward. His expression was more complex now, less disapproval, more something like understanding. Or perhaps respect. You built all this, he said quietly. Without us. Without any help. Without your help, I corrected, steady. I built it after you all told me to grow up, that I was throwing away my education, that people like us don't work the docks. He looked around, at the polished yacht, the uniformed crew, the reporters already gathering near the entrance to the pier. Well, he said finally, looks like you built something bigger than any of us ever imagined. I nodded once. That's the first thing you've gotten right today. As the engines purred to life and the captain signaled boarding, I turned and stepped onto the gangway, my crew at attention, the yacht shining in the morning sun. Behind me, one by one, they followed. But this time, they didn't lead the way. They boarded my ship. On my terms. If you felt that shift, the moment Camille finally took the wheel of her own story, then you won't want to miss what happens next. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the real voyage is just beginning. And not everyone on board is ready for the truth. Turns out, I didn't need the Rousseau family's real estate empire to be successful. I just needed all of them to underestimate me long enough to build one of my own. The sound of camera shutters snapping pulled everyone's gaze toward the dock. Photographers were now flooding into the marina, their lenses trained on Soline's Grace, the flagship of solstice voyages, and the unfolding spectacle on its polished teak deck. Smile, I advised my family coolly. These photos will be in every business magazine by tomorrow. I allowed myself a wry smile as I imagined the headlines already being drafted. Solstice Voyages CEO Camille Dupont welcomes estranged family aboard her personal yacht. An inspiring tale of success, forgiveness, and quietly ruthless revenge. Mother's face shifted from flushed red to ghostly white. She understood now. This was a game and I held every card. They could either play along and save face, or become a very public cautionary tale. What do you want? She asked. voice barely audible. Want? I repeated, laughing softly. I already have everything I want. A thriving company, a global brand, a personal yacht, and now, this delicious moment, watching you all come to terms with the fact that the daughter you dismissed became the woman you're now posing for photos with. My phone buzzed on cue, messages pouring in. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly realizing who I really was. Former business associates quickly connecting the dots. Socialites scrambling to realign themselves with the real power in the room. Or rather, on the water. The press will want shots of the whole family, I continued smoothly. I suggest you change into something more appropriate for a day at sea. Your cabins have solstice-branded attire laid out. Can't miss a marketing opportunity. Rachel looked horrified, clutching her designer sundress like it might protect her dignity. Branded clothing? Standard crew wear, I replied sweetly. Since you'll be staying in the crew quarters, it seemed fitting. The chief steward stepped forward again. Shall I escort them to their cabins, Madame Dupont? Please do, I said, and remind them of the crew dress code. I'd hate for them to feel out of place. As they were led aboard, each one more stunned than the last, I turned toward the flashing cameras, every inch the composed, polished CEO they once told me I'd never become. Camille Dupont, founder and CEO of Solstice Voyages, welcoming her family aboard her personal yacht. A perfect photo op. A better message. My phone buzzed again. My PR director. Stock up 15% on expansion news. Want me to mention the family angle? I smiled and typed back. Absolutely. Focus on the self-made success story. Make sure they know I started with a small boat rental in Cassis, rusted engine, second-hand radio and all. They say success is the best revenge. But success delivered with perfect timing, a sunlit yacht, and a well-timed headline? That's unforgettable. As for my family, they wanted a luxury cruise for the successful ones. They just never specified which side of the service line they'd be on. Welcome aboard, Salene's Grace, family, I called out, as the last of them was shown below deck. Your crew uniforms are in your cabins. Every great story starts somewhere. And nothing says humble beginnings like crew quarters on a yacht you thought you were important enough to rent. The Mediterranean sun danced off the hull as photographers jostled for the best shot. Somewhere beyond the cliffs, the sea stretched wide and unbothered, like my future, once I stopped asking for permission. Shall we set sail? I asked, loud enough for both the press and my family to hear. I believe my guests are eager to begin their experience. The anchor rose, and with it, so did the last of their illusions, about power, success, and the daughter they dismissed. If my story struck a chord, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told to stay in your place, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment, share your moment of rising, and if you're still waiting for that moment, don't wait. Build it. Brick by brick, in silence if you must. Let their doubt be your drive. Subscribe to the channel if you believe in reclaiming your power and rewriting your role. Success isn't always loud, but when the time comes, don't be afraid to let the world see just how far you've sailed.